Wellness begins where play, pleasure, and the parasympathetic meet. You were born to be you, and you were born to be well. Your body is always trying to find its way back to health. Now, here's the host of Your Healing Playground with Dr. Tina Coopersmith.
Welcome, my friends, from wherever you are around the world. You are listening to Your Healing Playground. I am your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith, your witchy doctor, your change advocate, and we are on the Inspired Choices Network, and we have a guest today. We are talking about from alienation and addiction to presence to community to a mission. She's really on a mission to heal the world. Please give a warm welcome to Sage Robinson. She is really here to eradicate the American epidemic of drug addiction. It starts way back in childhood. She is going to tell us a little bit about her story, her own bouncing back from losses, her own change. She is a change advocate. She changed herself, she changed her community, and now she is really ready to change the world. I want you all to realize that addiction to drugs is but one addiction of our modern age, but it might be the most deadly. It's killing so many young people before they're even ready to heal from the pain that started it in the first place. Young people, accidents are the number one killer in young adults, with suicide being number two. Drug overdose has skyrocketed since 2020. Overdosing is now the number three killer of teens and adolescents, and it's often from fentanyl. So let me give a warm welcome to Sage Robinson, who is changing the world, one human at a time, one movie at a time, one coaching client at a time. But really, millions are going to be touched by the work she is doing in the world. So Sage, thank you for coming on this podcast today.
Thank you, Dr. Tina. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, and I'm really excited to be here.
So I know you, I know a bit of your story. I'm sure I don't know all of your story. Let's just start a little bit, if you want to summarize for our listeners, drug addiction. How has it touched your life and how have you healed? We are on this to talk about everybody has a unique journey. Healing comes in all different ways, and life is here to be pleasure and play, and that's really a great way to heal. So can you give our listeners a little bit of the mirror into your soul and your life?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'd like to talk about even before the addiction started a little bit, because I think that's where that's where my attention is really going here, right?
Yeah,
how do
go
we
ahead, just
how do we
tell
really
me.
break that cycle? So, for me, I was raised in a family where I had, a mother that was, suffering from the disease of addiction, and my father was, abusive, and I didn't really have I didn't have anywhere at home that felt safe, and I never really felt seen or heard. And I went a lot of the times and just into my room, into this fantasy land, and when I would go to school, I remember just really wanting this love and attention all the time because I just wasn't getting my needs met, and I got bullied at school as well. And the thing for me is that, nobody asked me how I was doing. I was acting out, and like any kid in that situation, it's like they start acting out. That's a normal response.
Positive or negative attention. Attention is attention.
And nobody asked me. It's even when CPS got involved, like, nobody asked me, how are you doing? Like, what's going on for you?
Interesting.
So I really had, a mentor or anybody to guide me out of that. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how to deal with it, and so I ended up getting kicked out of my house when I was 12 years old. And
Wow.
and I was on my own from that point on. And that's a really young, I look at these kids that are 12 years old now and I go, oh my God, they're babies.
They're babies.
That was my reality. And it's like, and I think about that, and I think about how the messaging that I was getting at that age, that I was a problem, that there was something wrong with me. There must be something wrong with me because nobody loves me, And so so that message, we become self-fulfilling prophecies,
Yeah.
And that
Thoughts
message,
are things.
huh?
Thoughts are things. Words are real. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so there must be something wrong with me. Everybody's making me the problem instead of asking what's going on, so
Mhm.
there must be something wrong with me, so that's what happened for me is I went down that trajectory of, there's something wrong with me and I'm the outcast and, all the things that you can imagine that went with that road,
Right.
I had to gravitate towards the street kids, and find a way to protect myself and I developed a lot of really, at that time they were coping skills that worked because that was the environment that I was in, but they are very destructive and they lead you down a path. They led me down a path that, that was, uh, destructive. And so,
Right.
yeah. And so, yes, I suffered with addiction. I had been sexually assaulted, more times than I can count from being on, in that,
Where were you living as a teenager if you were kicked out?
yeah, well, at first, when I was 12, I did a lot of house hopping from
Hmm.
couch to couch to couch. With
Right.
women, it's not as easy. With girls, it's not as easy as it is with boys. What I noticed is like the boys always would rope in their friends and they would just, adopt another kid. With girls, for some reason at that age, for me is what it was. For me at that age, it just felt like there wasn't that strong, sisterhood or and I just house hopped for the first year. And then
Hmm.
after that, I ended up sleeping on rooftops.
Wow.
I slept, I would find bonfires. I was raised at the beach. So I was at the beach. I would find bonfires that people would leave to try and stay warm. And I would sleep next to that. And then I gravitated towards the street
Wow.
kids, and I started, being able to make money to eat and by selling marijuana and acid at that time, like that
Hmm.
LSD was a big deal. And I would do that so that I could eat. And there was a girl that took me in. I was 14, she was 17, and she had this little studio apartment, and she was another street kid like me, and so we kind of took care of each other, you know,
Mm.
and fed each other. And, it's like that became my family
Yeah.
and it took me down, and it took me down that road. So
Were you
yeah,
going to school at all at that young age if you're living on
I
the
was
street?
trying. I was really
Mhm.
trying. So I would go to school and again, it's like I'm acting out. I developed these skills from being bullied. I developed the skill of violence because I realized that, in order to not be bullied, I had to fight. And
Yeah. If you're bullied, you got to be strong so they don't.
so
Right.
that set the stage for that coping skill. And so I got kicked out. I ended up getting kicked out of like every school that I ever went to. I went to continuation schools, and then I
Hmm.
got kicked out of the school district completely. And I ended up completing, in an adult school later
Hmm.
later in
Right.
life, college, but at that time, there just wasn't there, even though I wanted to, I just
Yeah.
didn't have.
The way the system failed you, it just, my heart is like, ah, it just shocks me that the system could be that bad.
You know,
So,
can I talk about that a bit? Because I kind of
yeah,
want to share a little bit about that and where that. Do you want to know more about my story or do you want to share more about that? Because I'd love to share about that a little bit,
go
about the
ahead.
system and what I'm
Yeah.
seeing. Okay. So today, so I have many, many years now, uh, with a different life, as and we've shifted that. And we could talk more about that later. But what is what is really showing up for me lately is what's going on with the kids in our school system. How do we actually make a difference and shift this trajectory, for the kids that were like me,
Yeah.
and a friend of mine, she called me and she asked me if I wanted to do this documentary. We were seeing this fentanyl overdose epidemic all over around us, and we had it like once a week. we had, a death happening, and people were like, it seemed like people were actually getting numb to it. It was like, okay, another one, right? And it's devastating. It's devastating to see this, and the families and like their kids, and the majority, 76% of overdoses from fentanyl and opioid related deaths are kids and young adults.
Yeah.
76%.
I was in a circle this week and it just went around the room of how many kids were either addicted or there are a few that died either by suicide or an overdose,
Yeah. And back when we were kids, you could experiment. That was normal. Nowadays,
Right.
experimenting is
It's
deadly.
dangerous.
It's deadly, and they don't realize that everything's being laced with fentanyl. Everything, marijuana, pills,
Wow.
everything is laced.
Mhm.
And so they think they're taking a Xanax and they're taking a lethal dose of fentanyl, and
Mm.
it's really insane. So, a friend of mine, she called me, she said, "Do you want to do a documentary on this?" We were seeing a disconnect. Like people were still thinking that fentanyl was the junkie, not that there's any difference to me in that, but it's not the junkie, that's dying here. It's everyone. It's your kids, it's your parents, it's your
Yeah.
brothers,
It's a
sisters,
lot of celebrities too.
it's
The opioid
everybody.
addiction it's hitting everybody.
And they're not using needles even anymore
Right.
for that. This is a real deal. So we want to do a documentary. She wanted to do a documentary, and she said, "You want to be a part of this, and let's do this documentary, and let's get this message out, and let's bring it into the schools." So immediately I felt this, yes, absolutely, let's do this, and since then it's kind of really grown to something different. So we did the documentary and we went into the schools to see what the needs are, and it's the same thing. It's even worse than when I was a kid. Now what they're doing with these kids when they're acting out is they're sticking them in special ed classes, like they
Hmm.
have a learning disability. But the truth is they just need this, they just need a connection, right? So they're sticking them in special ed classes, and in this classroom that we went into, we had we had a girl that was adopted and felt alone. Over here we had a girl, her mom's on meth. Over here we had a boy his brother, his brother was in prison, and home life is chaotic, right? And when they want to talk about it, like, when we open up this topic, they want to talk about it. These are kids, right?
Yeah.
and and they don't even have a school counselor anymore. They have one. Well, in a lot of the times, right, in that particular situation, 1,200 kids for one school counselor.
Whoa.
I don't even know that they have a counselor, right? That's incredible. That's ridiculous. And it's not their fault. I'm not blaming the school systems. I know that the money is tight, and we're doing what we can, I'm sure. However, these are all of our kids. These are all of our kids. And so if the parents are unable, because maybe there's mental health, maybe there is, the disease of addiction in the family. Maybe they're just, working all the time, and their kid is feeling, disconnected from that. I don't know.
Well, the
But
bottom line is this is hitting all sides of society, right? It's the parents who are hugely successful and are busy working all the time, and the kids feel alone, and the bottom rung, right? It's not, it definitely is increasing, or it's disproportionate to the people who don't have resources,
right.
without a doubt. But it is crossing all the lines of, because you're right, kids, you can't get out of childhood without those inner voices of, I'm not good enough. Like everybody has those voices. I don't belong. I'm not good enough. Why am I on this planet? We all have those voices. That's human. And if they're not addressed, you're going to experiment with different tools to get your needs met. And
Yeah.
at every age and at every socioeconomic level, this is part of childhood, is finding community and who am I and where do I belong? And I feel, separation. The day we're born, we go from oneness to two-ness. And so it does, it's part of humaning to feel this. And the ancients, would have ritual to teach teenagers how to feel that connection and that belonging. And
Yes.
we are alienated, and there's no rituals and there's no community. There might be in your little family structures, but if you weren't gifted that, and so many people are going away from, the old fashioned communities, which it's not that religion is good or bad, but it gave some people community. And we need to develop communities. And the schools
Yes.
are not communities. And so the schools, they're free-for-alls, right? For these teenagers at
Yeah.
all levels of society. And ironically, the sad part, and then we'll take our first break, is this has been going on. You're a grown woman who had this problem, and your parents had this problem. This has been going on for decades. And until it hits more people of the moneyed elite, the problem doesn't get solved. Isn't that horrible? That if it's just the poor, nobody seems to do anything. And now that it's affecting celebrities, people with money, all of a sudden there's more talk about it. And that also is just wrong. Just
Well, stay
wrong.
tuned. Stay
Yeah.
tuned, because that's what we're here for. So
Yeah, and
I'll share
simultaneously,
this with you.
as
Yes.
your movie gets into private schools as well as public schools, good neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods, the good thing is maybe it will change society for the better at all rungs of society. And so maybe, it has to hit everybody for change to happen. And it still says we're not civilized. So let's
You're
take our
gonna be
first break
okay.
because
Okay.
it's time. Remember, folks, you are listening to Your Healing Playground. I am Dr. Tina Coopersmith, your host, your witchy doctor, your change advocate, and we are on the Inspired Choices Network. We have with us Sage Robinson. She is on a mission to heal the world. Her movie we will talk about when we come back, Nobody Plans on Dying, is the website, right? Nobody Plans on Dying, is that right?
Nobodyplansondying.org. Yeah.
Yeah, nobodyplansondying.org. Movie, website, mission, purpose. Let's go to our first break.
Your Healing Playground is the space where science, spirit, and sensation dance together. Your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith, physician, coach, healer, and play advocate, returns weekly to remind you that healing isn't just about pills and protocols. Western medicine is just one of many healing modalities. True wellness is about energy, emotion, pleasure, and play. On this show, Dr. Tina explores the playground of your body, mind, heart, and soul. From neuroscience to sensuality, from root chakra to real talk. She'll share tools, stories, and soulful strategies to shift you out of fear and back into joy. Because if you're alive and breathing, your story is still unwritten, and you deserve to write it with love. Together, you'll learn to breathe, feel, and play your way back to wellness, because you are your best healer.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Your Healing Playground with Dr. Tina Coopersmith. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to info@womensreproduction.com. Now, back to our program.
Welcome back, my friends. Remember, you are listening to Your Healing Playground. I am Dr. Tina Coopersmith, your host. We are on the Inspired Choices Network. Today we have with us Sage Robinson and her nonprofit, nobodyplansondying.org. We are here talking about addiction, recovery, disconnection, dissolution, and which tools to use when you're feeling that. So I want to get back a little bit because we do talk about healing on this program, and your program, your nonprofit, your documentary are all, I imagine, full of not just the stories, and stories heal because people see themselves in others. So stories is the way, stories tell, facts sell. No, got that wrong. Facts tell, stories sell. Stories is how we heal because we see each other, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And you are so not living the life of the addicted to drugs human anymore. You had a very difficult growing up. How did you cross the bridge? How did you get to the other side? What was your healing? Just briefly, so people can connect with that it is possible. And then how did your life, the whole fentanyl overdosing, and, you have this deep, deep mission now that gets you out of bed. You have become this amazing coach. You're really brilliant in the coaching space, and you can hide behind being a coach. Like that could be good enough for you. But no, you're out on the front lines with a real why, right? So I want to address your healing journey and where that why fits in, because that helps you get up and out of bed every morning, right?
Yeah, for sure. So my healing journey was, I guess, a long road. I tried many times. I tried on my own to just stop, right? One of the things that it's like we think that this is a moral dilemma, that I should just be able to stop. And the disease of addiction isn't like that. We have an allergy, we develop this allergy is what they call it, and the truth is, it's like whether it's these neural pathways that are created from the excessive using over and over again, it's hard to get out of that groove, that pattern,
Oh, yeah.
and so those coping skills are like automatic when certain life happens, right? And so unless we do the things necessary to really, really retrain that and heal all of those parts of ourselves that, need that love and that attention, we're doomed to recreate that same pattern over and over again, right?
Yeah, I joke, but not joke. I tell patients when we're trying to change habits, right? We all have them. And it's just a matter of where we're going. Like if you drive home on the freeway and you're going to a house and then you move, your body, if you're not thinking on the freeway, you get off on the same exit. You're like, go back to the old house, right? If you want to go to the mountains and you're always going to the mountains, your body doesn't need a GPS to get you to the mountains. The road is paved. And if you're saying, but I want to go to the beach, I want to go to the beach, and you do it, once a year, then by the time you go back to the beach, you can't find the road anymore because the pathway has overgrown and it's hidden. And so your body naturally goes back to the mountains, right? And unless you change a habit and really do something over and over and over again differently, the road gets lost, right? These networks in our brain are driving this. And whether it's looking at Instagram in the morning, whether it's checking email in the morning, or whether it's waking up with alcohol or experimenting with drugs or going to work and being addicted to work, right? These are the pathways
Yeah.
that drive the dopamine production, which our body says this provides pleasure, even when it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes the go-to for the coping skill, right?
Right.
And the way to, so like I said, the journey has been long. I've had a lot of failed efforts, a lot of things where it's like, well, I can just try and do it like this, or I could just drink a glass of wine occasionally, and that doesn't work for somebody like me. It just doesn't work. I needed a complete spiritual, physical, mental overhaul, and healing. And so what that took for me was surrendering to a 12-step program, 100% into that. And, and also, other things like, I don't just do that. For me, it's been a spiritual awakening, in other areas, right? And all of the work that we get to do with our accelerated evolution methods, and getting to go back and heal all the trauma and all of the limiting beliefs and all of these repetitive patterns that keep coming up again and again and again, creating this cycle that we can't get off the hamster wheel of, right?
Yeah.
So
I get it. I know it. Yeah.
so we have all these amazing tools in our, in our wheelhouse here that I've been able to utilize to really get to the root causes. And as a result of that, I've had profound healing, and and it feels as if all of that I've been through have actually turned into my biggest gifts.
Yeah, the obstacles in life that, it's rocks in your backpack or stepping stones to going higher. It's the same rocks. It's how you use them, right?
Yeah.
Fertilizer, it comes from poop.
Yeah, exactly, right. And it's so beautiful. I'm grateful for every little bit that I went through. I don't have a victim mentality left in me.
Right.
It's like everything that I went through, that gave me these incredible gifts that I have, and the empathy that I have, and the ability to really see, the patterning and my own story, which helps me to be there for others and see what's going on in the world. And so I'm really grateful for that. I worked in treatment for several years, as a substance abuse counselor. I've helped people rehabilitate. And, the thing is that, I want to share a little bit about what the cure for the disease of addiction is, and what they say. So back in the 70s, they had these rats in cages with these drugs, and every single time the rat would try the drug, and they would continue to do the drugs until they killed themselves, right?
Right.
And someone came along in late 70s and said, yeah, but they're alone and they're isolated. Let's change their environment and let's see how they respond then. So they created something called Rat Park. Rat Park was this beautiful place that they could have all the exercise they wanted. They had all the friends they wanted. They could have all the rat, intercourse they wanted. They had food. They had play. They had all the things. And very rarely did they ever find that the rat even went back to the substance for a second time. They didn't choose the drug. And what we learned from that is that the cure for this disease, for addiction, isn't punishment. It's not making someone wrong. It's not putting them in jail or in prison. What it is love and connection. Connection is the missing piece. So when we talk about, right? So when we talk about what is going on in our school systems and what was going on for me as a child, I always was isolated. I always was alone. I wasn't a part of, and I didn't have that attention and that connection, right?
Right.
So what's our solution? I mean, we're putting all of this money into substance abuse treatments. We are, our states, we're funding it. We're funding people to rehabilitate from prisons. We're funding these prisons and the jails, right? We're funding the rehabilitation through, the medical services and whatnot. And the truth is that what if we just addressed it at the beginning, when I was a kid?
Right.
As we get older, it's so much more difficult. We talked about the neural pathways and creating these new habits and patterns. It's like the older we get, the harder it is because
the pathway neurons that wire together fire together, and it's the groove. It's that pathway, that road has been paved and overpaved and paved again, and every time it grows over, it gets,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
exactly. And so, it gets harder and harder, and we're seeing, okay, well, how come we only have this big of a success rate. Well, maybe if we put our attention not instead of there, because that's valuable, but how do we actually dissolve this for the next generation? How do we heal this?
Well, it's functional medicine is the concept, right? If there's a flood on the floor, and Western medicine is mopping the floor, nobody's going to the sink and turning it off, right?
Yes,
And so we need
exactly.
to change what's happening in the homes and in the schools when the kids are little, right? Why I went to India, and then we'll take our next break, but none of the kids that I saw, they don't do drugs. They're not interested in doing drugs, and they're connected in extended families, and just the nuclear family versus the extended family. Like if mom and dad are too busy, there's someone else in the house that can play with that kid, right? And so changing. Now, granted, India's not perfect. There's lots of street kids there too, but I don't think they're on drugs. So, but it's we all need connection, and we all need to know we belong, that we're loved, we're seen, that we matter at any age, at any age. And so on that note, I just we're going to go to break, and I want people to think about your own lives, and when have you had a thought that you're not loved, and can you give love to feel love? Can you give belonging? Because when you give those things, you start to feel it, and it changes your neuropathways. And so let's take our second break. Remember, you are listening to Your Healing Playground. I am Dr. Tina Coopersmith, your doctor, your change advocate. We are on the Inspired Choices Network, and we will take our second break.
Your Healing Playground is the space where science, spirit, and sensation dance together. Your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith, physician, coach, healer, and play advocate, returns weekly to remind you that healing isn't just about pills and protocols. Western medicine is just one of many healing modalities. True wellness is about energy, emotion, pleasure, and play. On this show, Dr. Tina explores the playground of your body, mind, heart, and soul. From neuroscience to sensuality, from root chakra to real talk. She'll share tools, stories, and soulful strategies to shift you out of fear and back into joy. Because if you're alive and breathing, your story is still unwritten, and you deserve to write it with love. Together, you'll learn to breathe, feel, and play your way back to wellness, because you are your best healer.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is Your Healing Playground with Dr. Tina Coopersmith. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to info@womensreproduction.com. Now, back to our program.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Your Healing Playground, the podcast where we talk about health. I am Dr. Tina Coopersmith, your witchy doctor and change advocate. We are on the Inspired Choices Network. I'd like to invite all of you to a special day that I am going to celebrate September 8th. 8 means infinity. Infinity, feeling good. I'm having a dance party, a dance wave to celebrate my birthday on September 8th. It's going to be through Zoom.
Yay.
from 5 in the morning Pacific time till the evening in waves. We're having one big wave. We're re-envisioning feeling good in our bodies all day long. And I'm here today with Sage Robinson, and she has a new nonprofit, Nobody Plans on Dying. We are going to change the world and stop drug addiction, stop premature deaths. She is on a mission, and when Sage has a mission, it gets done. So we're going to come back. We're going to go back and talk to Sage. Tell us more. I know it's more than a documentary. I know it's a movement, it's a change. And I know you, and that you will, if you change yourself, you can change the world, because your inner reality reflects your outer reality, right? So this is bigger than you, and you are bigger than you. And tell me how this documentary, this program, what is it? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And tell my listeners too how they can get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So my own journey, I want to touch on that real quick. You talked about, how do we heal this? And we talked about Rat Park, and we talked about the cure for the disease of addiction is connection, right? And they teach us in 12-step program, right? They teach us to jump in, get in the middle of the herd, right? Build connection, create a support group. Like, these are things. And when we go to treatment, that's what we need. Right. And what are we missing? We're missing that connection. We're missing that love, and why are we disconnected? Which is why we talk about, okay, maybe it's mental health. Maybe it's, we're disconnected from our families, like these kids, right? Or maybe we're disconnected from, the world. Maybe it is that we just have a learning disability and we feel different. Whatever that is, it has to create this disconnection from self, from ourself, from the divine, right? From family. And so finding that solution is the most important thing, especially for our kids. So this documentary, it brings awareness. It's a series of documentaries. So it's not just one, and we're set to go mainstream nationwide. We did a premiere here on that. We got invited into the schools. We have curriculum that we're giving to the teachers to be able to do with the students for, 1 day or 3-day versions, to really open up the topic, find out what the pain points are, and find out how we can actually be of support, and and we can tailor individual programs for these kids. So our nonprofit is really the documentary is just our way in, and we want to be able to open up this conversation and find out how we could actually be a solution. So we're coming in with mentors, with counselors, with therapists that, youth therapists and family, if that's an option. We're providing things that will help with self-esteem and character building, like martial art programs, music programs, and then various educational opportunities depending on what they have an affinity for. And if they're part of our program, they're eligible for college scholarship. So one is to find out what it is that is causing that disconnect, and really be able to support them in fulfilling that need and that hole that's going on, and then guiding them, giving them a hand all the way through. And I feel like these are all of our kids, and if we're having this disconnect, this is all of our responsibility to do this.
Well, it's our world, right? It's the future. And it's planting a garden when you think about it. And you need, I just read this book about plants, called The Light Eaters. And but plants are constantly investigating their environment to figure out where to put down roots, and the roots have to come first, right?
Okay.
And the roots have to take hold, and you have to give the right soil. You need the water, you need the minerals, you need the connection. And they actually talk to each other and help their family. They're a little more competitive if the roots take different shape depending on how many plants are the same or different species, because they spread out more wide if they're the same species, and they're less competitive. If it's the same species, they're more competitive if they're different. So they really do mirror what goes on with us. But the point is that connection, that support of building the roots, because when you have the root chakra, when you have grounding, when you know you're in soil and can be held, then you can throw the seedling up out of the dirt, out of the darkness into the light, and actually be willing to shine and be a plant, right? Not just a root. And when you think about children, children are here. They need their root. They need to know someone is there to hold them so that they can shine who they're supposed to be, right? And we're instead trying to make everybody the same.
Yeah.
And we're not the same. We're the same and different simultaneously. So
Yeah.
what do you need to ground your root? And what's your magic superpower that you are going to share with the world?
Exactly. What if we created a world by doing this? We create a world where we have these kids growing up living purpose-driven lives because they're being supported and connected to what they're passionate about.
Right.
What they have an affinity for, what excites them and brings them joy and self-esteem, instead
Right.
of telling them that they're not good enough for that. And I'm not saying that that's verbally happening. What I'm saying is,
Well, they're
what
feeling
gets
it.
connected, right? That's the feeling, right? That's the feeling that we're getting. It's the messaging that we get when we're young, when we're disconnected. It's something around that. I'm not good enough. The world isn't safe. All these things that this messaging is happening for these kids. It's like, what if we can shift that and not just shift that for them and have them, be able to feel connected and supported and loved, but also create a world where these kids are growing up living a purpose-driven life that is making an impact in our planet.
Right. Well, what if we had a world, right, where everyone knew that no matter what, you were fed, you were clothed, and you were housed, and there was water? Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about a world where we truly know that if you change your job, you still have health insurance, right? If you decide you are overloaded or you don't like your job and you need to find a new career, that you will be safe in your body, in your house. There will be food, and the community will hold you until you get on your feet again, right?
Mhm.
Not this wobbly, the world, we only if you have lots and lots and lots and lots of money are you safe, right? And are you safe on social media to put yourself out there in the clothes you're wearing and not be judged by it, right? Right? We always talk about, you go to a party and, oh, nice shirt, nice hairdo, nicest. Why are you wearing green shoes? And for 20 years, you will remember that you wore green shoes to that party because one person critiqued your green shoes. You will not remember the things you got right. You will not remember the compliments. You remember what went wrong. We are wired for survival,
Yeah. Yeah.
wired for the negative. And so we
What?
have to pull in the positive. We got to pull in the community. We got to pull in the love. We got to pull in the connection.
100%. And you're right, it's survival. And when and that survival is like it's embedded in our DNA,
Yeah,
back from the cavemen, right? It's like when you are alone, you're dying.
right.
When you don't have tribe, you're dead. And so like that's what's happening, is like that's why we're seeing this epidemic of substance abuse. It's like it's a slow death, slow drip poison that we're
Yeah,
taking because we're already dying, right?
right.
It's like, so we need to fix that. And the cure for that is connection and love. It's not reprimanding. It's not telling them there's something wrong with them. It's finding out what's going on. It's
Right.
finding out what's going on that you feel disconnected. How can I help? How can I support? How can I be there for you? And is it self-esteem? Is it mental health? It's like before we're 25 years old, our prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed. So,
Correct.
being in fight or flight mode is completely normal for teens because they don't know how yet. They don't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex. So like we're making them wrong for acting out, we're making them wrong for for, being dramatic. It's like, okay, this is a normal teen thing,
Well, we're
right?
also, they hear, so one of the things that I think is interesting is we're also taught that we're not whole because we need to find a partner. And
Oh,
if we're not partnered, we're not whole. That our job, and yes, our job is to reproduce, but how we reproduce, right? And we're taught to be that survival of the fittest is real, and chimpanzees are our closest relative, when in reality, the bonobos are actually genetically more related to us. And they solve problems not through fighting, but through touch, connection, and sexuality. It's a matriarchal society of monkeys that are apes. They're not really monkeys, they're bonobos, I think. Whatever. And connection, touch, right? Real energetic touching. Like what if we've told people to stand 6 feet away? We can't feel your heart 6 feet away. That's just the distance between your heart energy, between one heart and the next.
mhm.
So we've made it sort of unacceptable for teachers to hug their students because they're violating a boundary. Well, not if you ask consent. How about we talk about consent and we talk about touch and we talk about empathy?
Yeah.
So we have to take our next break. I'm so looking forward. I'm going to volunteer for your organization. I do. I think I need to go out and teach children how to connect with each other. It's so critical, right? It's critical to wellness. They say in the science, right? The monkeys if we talk about experiments, right? If there's a wire mommy monkey or a soft cushy monkey, and they will forgo food to get the soft fur and the hug. They would rather the hug than the food.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And we all do. You have to have a connection as a will to survive,
hmm
right?
Yeah, and it's a cure for our planet, and
Right.
it's our cure for our kids. It's a cure for our planet. Let's talk about that. But yeah, yeah.
It's so much bigger than one little box of kids doing drugs. So we are going to take our break. Remember, you are listening to Your Healing Playground with Dr. Tina Coopersmith. That's myself as your host. We are on the Inspired Choices Network, and we are going to take our last break.
Your Healing Playground is the space where science, spirit, and sensation dance together. Your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith, physician, coach, healer, and play advocate, returns weekly to remind you that healing isn't just about pills and protocols. Western medicine is just one of many healing modalities. True wellness is about energy, emotion, pleasure, and play. On this show, Dr. Tina explores the playground of your body, mind, heart, and soul. From neuroscience to sensuality, from root chakra to real talk. She'll share tools, stories, and soulful strategies to shift you out of fear and back into joy. Because if you're alive and breathing, your story is still unwritten, and you deserve to write it with love. Together, you'll learn to breathe, feel, and play your way back to wellness, because you are your best healer. This is Your Healing Playground with Dr. Tina Coopersmith. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to info@womensreproduction.com. Now, back to our program.
We are back on Your Healing Playground. I am Dr. Tina Coopersmith, your host. We are on the Inspired Choices Network. Today we have with us Sage Robinson. She is part of Nobody Plans on Dying, a nonprofit to heal and prevent drug addiction at its source in the children. And I'd like to ask in this last time, and I want to tell you, everybody, don't forget September 8th, we're going to have a wave of dancing because we need to feel good. Place your order, feel good, place your order, feel good. We always got to get back to feeling good and making heaven on earth. So I want to ask you a few questions as we get ready to close up. And what would you tell young adults themselves or children, in the teen years, their parents, their teachers, and the friends of their, parents, teachers, and their own friends? Like, if you were to gift them from this perspective now that healing is possible, you've done it, you have many, many, many people, there is proof that it's possible, but how do we prevent it? What do you want to tell the world right now? Whoever's listening, everyone knows someone who is addicted or potentially addicted or has been affected by addiction. What do we want to tell these people?
So I guess I got a little confused on that question. Am I speaking to the kids or am I speaking to just everyone?
I would say both, right? So the kids themselves, like, what do you want to tell them? What's their takeaway? And then the people who interact with them, how do they best interact with them?
So for the kids, I would say that there's nothing wrong with you, that you are perfect and whole and complete just as you are, and if you're not feeling that way, there's support, and that there's people that care and that love you. And, so just let us know and reach out. Just reach out, and that's it. And you will get all the help and mentoring that you need, all the solution. And for the people in the world, it just seems like such a no-brainer to me. It's like really, really clear. It's like we're putting all this money into prisons, we're putting all this money into substance abuse rehabilitation, being able to affect our kids before it becomes the disease of addiction, before it becomes to that level, seems like such a no-brainer to me. Like, how have we been missing this? Like turning off the water, like you're saying, this is it. This could change our entire world for our next generation, and I really, this is all of our responsibility to do that and be there. And so our goal is to take this nationwide and to get into every school and to be able to be that beacon of hope and that connection for everybody that needs it. There's no blame here. I'm not putting any blame on parents. It's like, I get it. Whether you have to work all the time and you're a single mom or dad, I get it. Whether you just don't know how to, it takes a village here. It takes a village. We can't do this alone. We are a tribe. We are one nation, right?
Yes.
World.
So
And
that is the perfect way for us to end. We are coming up on our end, and we are one world, one species, interconnected to everything else, right? And we are here because we belong. We are here because we are alive. And if we're alive, it means we belong. And root cause medicine, root cause education, root cause is the way to go. We got to tend those roots, right? I'm even thinking about the word root cause medicine. Adverse childhood experiences predicts 1-to-1 your diseases as an adult. We got to go to the children. We got to start with the seeds to tend those seeds, tend those roots, and let every human on the planet know if you're here, you belong, just like the plants do. Give love to this entire universe that we are born from. We are the universe is us. And healing is your birthright. Pleasure is your birthright. You are here to live heaven on earth in this lifetime that we know. Play your way back to health. Reach out and touch someone and love
If
someone.
you felt something
Start with
move
yourself.
today, a molecule, a mindset, or your mood, that's healing. Your body listens to your stories, your thoughts, your breath. So speak to yourself with kindness, play with curiosity, and let your nervous system know it's safe to rest. Dr. Tina returns Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Remember, pleasure is a practice.